there was a wonderful video. As soon as the genocide was unfolding, there was a wonderful video that epitomized what exactly was happening with regards to the public narrative. What this TikTok video was trying to highlight was, it wasn't that people hated Palestinians. They just didn't know about the Palestinian cause. That Palestinians had been so dehumanized by being ousted from the mainstream narrative that people were believing everything that Zionists were saying and were unable to hear anything that the Palestinians were saying. Now, as a result of social media, as a result of TikTok, may Allah protect, preserve, and elevate it, and blessed Singaporean CEO, Gulu Ameen. Say Ameen. Otherwise, you would be restricted and limited to the BBC, wa'iyadu billah. You would be restricted and limited to CNN. You would be restricted and limited to GB News. Say Ameen, may Allah bless and preserve TikTok. What happens when you have freedom of speech, real freedom of speech? What happens when you have true dialogue? What happens when you put the Zionist argument with a Palestinian argument in a free and fair discussion, when you present both arguments, when one is not raining bombs on the Palestinians, when one is not stifling the Palestinians, when you give them a platform to speak, which is all they wanted, when you give them a platform to lay their claim that we just want a right of return, we lived hundreds of years alongside other religions, we didn't have any problems with them. What convinced her to change her mind on Zionism? It was the freedom of dialogue, the freedom of information that enabled people to make an educated conclusion, and this is what Zionism feared. It feared genuine debate, which is why it is massacring the Palestinians, men, women, and children, to make sure they cannot speak to the world again. It's why they prevented the Sky News reporter from going into Gaza, because they don't want reporters there, because if reporters go there, they will convey to the world, and if they convey to the world, what is happening in the world? The world is starting to wake up to what's happening in Palestine, and now Spain wants to recognize Palestine, Ireland wants to recognize Palestine, Norway wants to recognize Palestine, Macron is calling for an arms embargo. All these things are changing. Why? Because suddenly there is this freedom of information that is flowing. And the reason why there is this freedom of information is because of the decentralization of the way that information is delivered. Ro Khanna, the Democrats' representative for California, came out and said that if we had changed our position on Gaza, we might have won the election. 34 polls in the US indicated that if Harris had changed her position on Gaza and broke from Biden, she would have received a 5% increase in her voting share, which is more than the difference in popular vote between her and Donald Trump, indicating what? That she would have won. Now I know that's still not enough. I came prepared. Wisconsin, she lost by 30,000 votes. There are more than 70,000 Muslims in Wisconsin. Add to that the non-Muslim allies of the Palestinians. She was reasonable for her, she might have won Wisconsin. In Georgia and in Pennsylvania, she lost by about 120,000 votes. There are more than 150,000 Muslims in those areas. Add to that the hundreds of thousands pro-Palestinian non-Muslims. It's reasonable to expect Harris could have won those swing states, even in a difficult economy. In Michigan,